All right, everybody, I'm back on air here. We're going to do an actual Q&A. If you're not familiar with how I'm doing these, I'm trying a new format where I do a longer form kind of podcast type of video and then cut it off and do a Q&A that's unrelated to that. So any questions you have, I'm open to them right now. I'll try to get to as many as I can, but let's go with it. I'll wait for a bit until people fill the room. I just finished my other broadcast, so they'll have to figure out that we're still here. But let me fire up this other camera, and in the meantime, I'll show you what I've got on my wrist. So this here is the Debthoon DB27. This watch has gotten incredibly hot over the last month or so. It's basically doubled in price. I have like 10 people in my email that have been asking about them. And what's really funny is sometimes I don't even know this has happened. I'll sell a watch and not think that much of it. And then all of a sudden I get, one person looking for one. And I say, yeah, of course, next time I see one, I'm happy to let you know. And then I get another person. Hey, I'm looking for a DB27. Okay, that's interesting. And then another person. Hey, I'm looking for a DB27. Oh, okay, great. That's interesting. And so on and so forth. And then I realized, oh my God, I've got 10 people stacked up for this same watch. Something's occurred here. And then, of course, I realized that I sold the first one too cheap. And somebody wants to sell me their next one, and I've got to pay 30% more or something like that for it. So what are you going to do? You win some, you lose some. I can't know everything. Anyway, this is what I'm wearing. I really, really like the watch. It's very comfortable. It's light. It's got the curved lugs. It's, super legible. It reads as all black sometimes, but then it catches the light and the hands sparkle up. So you can see it's really, really easy to tell the time. Sometimes with watches like this with a central date, it gets confusing because the date hand is difficult to discern from the time hand. But you can see because of this crazy date hand, it's definitely easy to tell that it's not the time. So pretty cool. Love the watch. I love the Roman numerals. I like how they've mixed classic elements with really modern elements. And of course, you get a lot of the benefit that you would get with a DB28 with the floating lugs and everything for a much lower price range. However, the DB28 does have such a beautiful sort of thin profile. And overall, I do like that case better. But this is a really cool alternative, especially if you're into the all black aesthetic and the Roman numerals. So that's what I've got on my wrist. Let's go back to this chat. All right, so we've got one question here. Thoughts on Bechet? I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Bechet, Bechet. I'm not sure. I've definitely seen the watches, but not in person. I don't really see anything other than what I buy. So I kind of deliberately try to stay on the outside of the industry a little bit. I don't like the politics involved in being too close in. When you get too close to these brands, they get very sort of judgy on what you're doing with their watches, the prices you're asking for them, anything I say on these videos. That sort of stuff. Same with retailers. Retailers are always very concerned with their own turf and their customers and their pricing and their brands. So I find that if I stay on the outside of the industry where I just buy these watches with my own money and I sell them to end customers, then I can stay 100% independent. I can price things where I want. Where I think it's actually fair, and I can say anything that I want on these videos, and nobody can sort of tell me anything. So the flip side of that is I only see what I see. I only can know what I know. I don't get access to really anything super, top secret. I don't have guys trying to send me watches from their brand to review or anything like that. And so some of these little guys I just miss. sometimes. I see them pop up on Instagram just like you, but I don't know everything about them. So I don't have any thoughts. I haven't seen one in person. I've never bought or sold one, and I'd like to. They look interesting. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Thoughts on watch YouTubers? This is a good question. So I don't watch a lot of watch YouTube, to be honest. Mainly I'll like dig in if I have a specific question that I want answered. And so for that, I find I watch some Tim Masso videos sometimes if there's a watch that I'm looking at. You know, I'm just an enthusiast, just like you guys, especially if there's something that I think about buying, or if there's, even when I have a watch incoming, I'll just get excited about it and I want to see everything about it, right? So then I'll go onto YouTube and I want to see however close I can get to it, anything that I don't have. And so Tim on the Watchbox channel does a really good job of that. It's the whole reason why I started this channel in the first place, was just to give people an avenue where they can see these things, either because they're kind of aspirational and they just want to see one, or maybe they are really thinking about buying one and they want to know something about it, or maybe they already bought one, but it's in FedEx and they just can't wait to see it. I go through all of that just like everybody else. I also really like Roman Scharf's channel, the Luxury Bazaar channel. He does a really good job where, first of all, he keeps it really fun. It's got like a kind of reality show vibe to it, behind the scenes, this, that, and the other. And he interviews people that are interesting. And so when I see somebody that I like get interviewed on that channel, I check it out. But I also just like Roman, and he's a friend of mine. I guess those are the two that I see the most often, but I really, really don't watch a ton of YouTube watch stuff. Oh, there's also, who is it? The guy who's been doing really good indie watch stuff lately. I'm blanking on it. You guys, I'm sure, would know and could tell me. Swiss guy, or something like that. Anyway, he does really well. And sometimes Watches TV does like a behind the scenes look at a manufacturer. So those I super geek out on. That's really great stuff. But mainly I watch YouTube, probably just like you guys do, as a total enthusiast, and just kind of find out what it is that I'm interested in. Oh yeah, Swiss Watch Gang. Thank you. Let's see. Oh, there's some good ones coming in here. I'm going to try to go from somebody else. This is interesting. How do you define an independent watchmaker? I'm thinking of, for example, the difference between Groeneveld and Jacob & Co. They produce watches in basically the same way, yet Groeneveld is seen different. It's a good point. There really is no good definition, I guess. And I'm really biased in that I kind of just like what I like. I don't even really try to justify it with any sort of overall heuristics, or I just like what I like. And most of what I like was cemented between kind of 1999 and 2006 or so. So I'm for sure stuck in the past. And I try to make that clear so you guys know what my bias on taste is. But if you look at somebody like a Groeneveld versus somebody like a Jacob & Co., there are definitely real differences, right? Like, first of all, the Groeneveld guys use their own name. This is their own name. It's their family lineage. They also have really amazing pedigree in terms of watchmaking, right? They worked at Renault and Papy. They had their, they were in charge of the major complications there. They're out in front of the brand. When you think of Groeneveld, you think of the Groeneveld brothers. Whereas a Jacob & Co., who I don't know that much about because they're not really in my wheelhouse. But I don't think it's, first of all, the owner and operator is not a watchmaker, which isn't necessary, right? Max Buser isn't a watchmaker. But he also has a very interesting pedigree in the independent watch scene. So, but anyway, not a watchmaker, not really out in front of the company. It's marketed as more of a company, right? So these are really choices on how the brands themselves want to market to us and have us think about them. And you guys can make your own determinations of which type of watch brand appeals to you more. One that seems to be from a little guy, for me, what I particularly like is when you have a creator who has a very clear point of view and they're marketing their point of view, right? They're making what they think is good. They're clear that they're making it because it's what they think is good, and you kind of can take it or leave it. Versus these companies that more are sort of just trying to make what the market wants or what might be cool or what might sell because they're obviously set up to be a company. Not to say that the one isn't, right? A lot of it is marketing and it's not the reality of it, and everybody needs to make money and everybody likes to make money. But I guess that's where I kind of draw the distinction. Ultimately, I just like what I like and I don't need to justify it any more than that. Any opinions on Daniel Roth? So I'm going to step back and I'm going to go a little bit more macro on questions like this. I try not to get too much into specifics with people on certain brands or certain watches because I really think the fun part of this industry is refining your own taste. And who gives a crap what I think about a certain watch or a certain brand? If you like it, then great. I like what I like. And so my best answer of what I like and what I think is good is what's on my website. If you look at the watches that I buy and the watches that I sell, because unfortunately, look, my website is basically a catalog of what my private collection would be if I could afford to keep all the watches that I like. That's how I got into this business. That's how this became a thing for me, is just buying what I like and then realizing that I like something else also, and I can't own both things. That's how this became a business, right? So, and the way that I stay in this business without getting jaded and just super bored with it is I really stick to only buying what I like, certainly only promoting what I like. If I take something in trade that is really just not my thing, generally I wholesale it before it ever hits my website, certainly before I make a review video or anything like that. So if you want to know my taste, just go onto my website, see the stuff that I've bought and sold, go into my YouTube channel, check out what I've reviewed. This is my taste. I suppose you can infer from that what I don't like by what you don't see there often. However, it's not always true. Some things I don't buy just because I can't really sell them. I got offered 10 years ago or something, before I was really in this business, a 34 millimeter Blancpain erotic automaton minute repeater. I don't know if you guys have seen these. They were all made in unique pieces. They're all 34 millimeters, which is a bummer. If it was 38, it'd be awesome. But they're minute repeaters, very clean dial, but on the back are erotic automatons, harkening back to the old pocket watches that were like this. This is an awesome watch. I think this is a very cool watch. Another example would be the Audemars Piguet Grand and Petite Sonnerie that was there early in the Jules Audemars case, which actually was the first YouTube video that I ever made. I made it in my personal account and it kind of took off. And that's why I thought to even create this channel. Anyway, those are two examples of watches that I personally really love, but they don't sell well. And so I wouldn't buy them to sell. Really? So you wouldn't find them on my website. So just the fact that I don't have something doesn't necessarily mean I don't like it. But in general, if it's something that people really like and are buying and I'm not buying it, I suppose then you can infer that it's not totally my taste. But that doesn't mean anything. If you like it, buy it. I've been wrong about a ton of things. In fact, I'm wrong about most things in the market. I'm stuck in my own little lane. I happen to be getting lucky in that a bunch of people are realizing that that lane is a pretty good thing lately. But I was out on the edge for more than a decade of this wild stuff that I liked. Okay, I didn't answer your question, but I did my best. Let's see what else we got here. I haven't seen H. Moser on your site. Do you not like H. Moser? Anyway, this is exactly what I'm saying. First of all, I have sold Mosers. There are Mosers on my site. In fact, I just sold the MBNF collaboration not long ago. But I know what I know. If you really look, I sell mainly just a handful of brands because I think those are the best of the best of the best brands. Doesn't mean that there aren't others that are cool. I would love to have some sort of Mosers myself. In fact, they just made something that was super cool. I forget what it was, but something they had really caught my eye. Oh, I love their chronograph on a bracelet. I would love to have one of those, but it's just not something that I would really sell well. So I'd have to just buy it for myself, and that would be that. But that's a watch that I particularly like. Okay. This is not really a question, it's a statement, but I think it's interesting. MBNF Frog is such a quirky piece, yet so cool, but sitting on your website for so long. Yeah, it has been on there for too long. There's something so weird about this market that I'll never get, and it actually keeps it interesting, I suppose, in that I can never totally figure it out. Sometimes there are things that I buy that I really think I might have for 2 years before anybody's interested in them, and they sell immediately the second I get it. And then there's other stuff that I think is really great that I'm sure there are a bunch of people looking for, and they just stick around for a really long time. Now, the couple comments that I do have to that are that because our culture moves so fast now, what seems like a long time isn't always a long time. I've had people email me before that say, hey, I noticed that you've had this watch for a really long time. Do you want to sell it to me cheap? Whereas, first of all, I don't care if I sell watches fast. Just because I've had something doesn't mean I want to get rid of it. I buy good stuff, and when it sells, it sells. Everything sells. So that's a bad negotiating tactic with me. But the funny thing is that most of the time when that happens, the reality is that I've had it for like 2 months or something like that, or maybe 3 months. Even the chocolate frog that's on my site right now, I think I've had on there for maybe 6 months at the most or so. And several of those months were like mid-pandemic, everything is basically stopped type of thing. So nothing is that long. Nobody should expect that crazy horology sells overnight. What it means to be a dealer, and this goes to a kind of another question that somebody had asked somewhere else of the kind of collector dealers. These are really just flippers in the most part. When I think of a dealer, that means somebody who actually buys inventory and holds the inventory and then sells it, at the appropriate time at the appropriate price. I'm not trying to flip in and out of things to make $300 here or there. I buy the watches that come to the market that I think are really good watches. I buy them for many reasons. Sometimes it's because there's good margin there. Sometimes it's just because I really want to make a YouTube video and I want to tell you guys why it's great. Sometimes I just think that it's something that will look good on my website and just keep me getting a good flow of stuff. So I'm never in a hurry to sell watches. I'm a real dealer. I really buy inventory. But it is shocking sometimes when really good things stick around longer than I think they will. William Collins, do you think the Phillips auction changed the market for DB27 or just more people interested in entry-level high-end independents? Why don't we take a look at a watch while we answer that question. So I don't really think auctions have a super measurable impact on the watch market. Maybe when there's several strung together, but just when there's one that comes up, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. It definitely helps, maybe a little bit here or there, but they're so easy to explain away. And if they're not replicable, then they don't really get us anywhere. I do think that the second part of your question is a little bit more where it's at, whereas people really want to get into indie watches, and they, a lot of them are priced out. So this watch in the, it used to be in the 20s. Now it's in the 30s, but even in the 30s, it's I think a really good bargain. And so it's kind of a nice way to get yourself into a Debthoon with the floating lugs, with the whole look and everything for in the 30s, which, to be honest, you can't buy that much there right now. So some of it also is just relative pricing versus a lot of the other watches. All right, let's see what else we got. What do I think of the approach of haute horlogerie independents also launching entry-level pieces, i.e. Chrono? Good move. Also, will Ming ever get on your radar? So look, I would love for there to be affordable watches. I hate the fact that everything that I sell is so expensive. I understand why it is. I don't think it's overpriced for what it is, but it really sucks because most of the people that I know in the world are not into this sort of thing, will never pay this kind of money, and yet they would all like a cool watch. So if there was the ability to make cool watches at sort of somewhat mortal price ranges, that would be great for everybody, and it's sort of the number one thing that I hope comes out of the horological world in the next little while. And I don't think that it tarnishes a brand at all to be able to make something cheap that's cool, as long as they can still justify why their expensive stuff is expensive. So that's where they fail sometimes. They come out with something that's cheap. It's like better than their expensive stuff. And then you start thinking, wait a minute, why is that one 10 times more or something like that? But that to me just means that their expensive stuff was overinflated from the beginning. So I'm all for entry-level watches. I'm all for people using their expertise to try to get cool stuff into more of the market. I want everybody to be able to have a great watch. And it sucks when people say, hey, what would you recommend for $2,000 or $4,000 or $5,000? And I'm like, well, there's almost nothing. Maybe there's one cool thing or two cool things. So yeah, all for that. As to the second part of your question on Ming and I are friends. We've actually worked together on a project before. I have a unique piece that he helped me make. And so I love Ming. I love what he's doing. I think the watches are awesome. And just to my first point, I think it's fantastic that somebody is doing this. They don't really feature on my site or in my page or anything because it's not my business. It doesn't really make sense for me to buy and sell $2,000 watches. I work on about a 10% margin in general. That's what I kind of shoot for. So 10% on a $2,000 watch is $200, which I'll burn just in shipping. So it doesn't work as a business model for me, and that's why you don't see me hyping some of this stuff or promoting it or talking about it. But it doesn't mean I don't love it, and I think what he's doing is great. I would love to have one of those world timers for myself. I know that one's a little bit more expensive, but man, super cool watch. And also the mosaic dial chronograph that he posted the other day is like fantastic. Okay. But until it becomes a viable business sort of concern for me, you're not going to see it on my site. That doesn't mean I don't love it. Let's see what else. Tim asks that I was looking for Urwerk 210 the other day, if I consider them sleepers. what I look for doesn't really say anything. Sometimes I just have a customer looking for something. In the case of the 210, I actually sold my own and I just miss it. So I wanted to buy it again for myself, which has nothing to do with anything except that I just really like the watch. You can see my video review of it and just check out why I like it. But it doesn't really say anything about the market. Best first independent I recommend for someone who's very new to this. Again, I guess this sort of brings everything back into it in that I don't really have the ability to recommend something like that. First of all, everybody's price range is different. I know somebody who's, people whose first independent was a Grubel Forsey, and I know people whose first independent would be, I don't know, a Seiko, if we want to consider them independent. But so price range has a lot to do with it. And then basically pick your price range and find out what you love. That's all any of us can do. And all I can do is try to show what I think is good and help you find what you love if you happen to love something that I love. But in terms of saying like, this is the place to get in, or these aren't gateway drugs. One doesn't lead to another one or something like that. You have the taste that you have, and then you'll own it and you'll refine your taste a little bit, or you won't. You'll grow up, you change in life, your taste changes. You either keep stuff as you go or you sell it and get something else. Both are valid. But I think all of this is about finding our own tastes, refining, honing, and being willing to take the journey wherever it goes. So I would never begin to tell somebody what they should buy. Am I going to get a Voodoo in stock anytime soon? Well, I get what I get, man. People offer me what they offer. I hope so. I'm always open to buying Karis. As you guys know, I have the mega Tantalor in my personal collection. So I'm super invested in Kari myself. I think actually he's incredibly underrated right now, which I don't know, that could be interesting in itself as a place for either me to delve in at some point or for you guys to research and whatever. It's cool to see things that are underrated, but I have no control over the inventory that comes my way. I'm always willing to buy good watches at the right prices, but they just kind of have to precipitate out of the air. There's no way for me to make them appear. That's the exciting part, but also the frustrating part of being a used watch dealer is that they rely on somebody buying them new and wearing them and getting, sick of them or wanting something else or whatever. Those are all parts of the puzzle that I can't control. So, of course, if I got offered any Kari Voodoo at the right price, at the right time, in the right deal, I'm perfectly happy to own it, and you would see it on my website immediately. So that's how the sausage is made here. I'm, open to the animal spirits of the universe. Oh, I like this. Favorite restaurant in LA. Now we're talking. It says you like Ennaka. I've never been able to get a reservation at Ennaka. I got one of their to-go bento box things during the pandemic, which totally is not the Ennaka experience that I wanted. But so I've totally missed Ennaka. I can say that I guess my overall favorite is an Ethiopian place called Meals by Gannett in Little Ethiopia. Just my favorite place to go and get delicious food, and there's no fanfare. It just, but it's really, really yummy. I also really like Night Market Song for spicy Thai food. For fancier restaurants, I guess I used to go to Bestia a lot when I lived downtown, which is always good. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. I miss so many things, but I guess I've eaten at almost all the fancy restaurants in LA and in most places, and they're good for what they're good for, but this is the town I live in, And so my favorite restaurants are usually just the things that are like delicious, and you can kind of go whenever you want and get the food that you want. So I'm more into, I guess, kind of weird ethnic places or great sandwiches, that kind of vibe in LA. All right, you know what? I think I'm going to end it there. This went awesome. I'm going to try this format more often. So I'm going to come on, record something. Don't miss the video that I recorded right before this, which was also live. I did a little bit of a Q&A, but on that one, I had a topic. So we discussed the sort of macro and microeconomic forces at play in the overall pricing of the watch market. If it's not up on YouTube and available right now, I will make sure that it is the second that I get off this live stream. So check it out. And I'm going to leave this Q&A up so you can refer back to it, or if you missed any part. But I'm going to do this more often, where I pop in, talk on a topic, maybe take a couple questions on that topic, then end it off and start a new one and do just an open Q&A. This was awesome. I hope that somebody out there liked it a little bit. And thank you guys a lot for supporting the channel, for coming on, for spending your time with me. Please share with a friend, get other people here. This will be much more fun. The more people that are here, the more perspectives, the more questions and everything. As you can see, I'm still building out my studio here. I hope that the quality has been good. It's definitely getting better each time. And yeah, thank you. I'll see you soon.